This is new.
This is new. Welcome, people, to the inaugural episode of what are we calling this?
We don't know yet.
We
don't even know what this is.
We have a working title. It's the super original TwoStarCast.
No, but this is.
Look, here's the thing. We have been having a lot of stuff going on in our lives lately. A lot of stuff, and figuring out how to make the channel work is tricky. Is tricky because we don't have all that much spare time, and whatever spare time we have is only in short bursts. So recording gameplay stuff is kind of hard. And here I was thinking, you know what? I'm gonna take a page out of the playbook of Nazith, a guy I do some content with Xenogelion, with friends of the channel. They check out their stuff. They're great. Xenogelion on YouTube, Nazith on Twitch. Good people. But Nazith has a thing where like, oh, you're not like a real Let's Player until you have a podcast.
Okay, so now we're doing a podcast.
We're doing a podcast.
And we're going to be talking about really interesting things. Mainly, we're going to be venting about our lives.
Kinda. That's the idea. Not necessarily going to be like a gaming podcast. More sort of a life podcast. And we'll see. For now. We'll figure it out as we go along. We might do gaming stuff. Ooh, gaming news or whatever. Or just talk about whatever's been going on. In our lives, because we do have stuff to talk about.
Once we get back to being able to actually find out new things about games and...
There you go.
Yeah, just... What day is it?
What day is it is a relevant question for us.
What month?
And, because like, man, we had a kid, and that was in... January. So it's been a couple of months. And the channel has pretty much been on a standstill since then. And the months just roll on by so quickly.
Okay. But to be entirely fair to us, I think we had it slightly harder than your average person who has a kid.
We do. So I guess the topic of this episode is going to be oversharing. I don't know. We've been sharing a lot previously. We've talked about it a couple of times because, like, you know, nowadays most people come to the channel for my Warframe stuff, but we've done a bunch of other games that we've played in the past, and one in particular called Hatoful Boyfriend, which is like a pigeon-based dating simulator. That one sorta-ish turned into a podcast, like halfway through the LP, where we just basically started using the game just as a backdrop for doing a podcast.
And if we go back and listen now, we're just going to cry because our life was so different.
Our lives were so much more interesting.
I wish our life was less interesting right now, to be quite honest. Because how many people can say of themselves that they just had their child's chest cut open for open heart surgery?
Hey, did you know that there is a Chinese curse? That they when they want to really curse someone and really hit them hard, they say, "May you live in interesting times."
I sorta knew that. I didn't know it was a Chinese curse, but I have read the Terry Pratchett book. Where he says that is a curse by some other Discworldian.
I think it's Chinese.
Well, no, there's no China on the Discworld.
No, but I think the actual quote is, like, the actual curse is Chinese. Because interesting times are very fun to read about in history books. You typically don't want to live in them. You typically want to live in boring times.
Yeah. And this is what I've been telling my friends and family on the phone, where I'm just like, when they're like, "Oh, not much happening right now with us," and I'm like, I wish I could say the same. I really wish I could.
Yeah.
It's so like, good for you.
So here's the big drop, people. The big knowledge drop, the info drop. A big reason why the channel has been in a complete standstill, basically, for the past 3 or 4 months.
but especially the last one.
Yeah, obviously, you know, newborn is newborn, and newborn was always gonna be newborn, and it was always gonna be like a roadblock or whatever. But our baby managed to be born with a heart condition.
With a hole in her heart.
With a hole in her heart.
Now, luckily for us, she had, like, I guess, the second best thing you can have for a heart condition. Or second best, I don't know.
Yeah, you know, it sounds weird when you put it like that. But
like,
as far as heart conditions go, it could have been a lot worse.
What could have been better is the kind of hole or heart condition that eventually grows together by itself, which is actually
your brother, right?
My brother had that, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the best quote unquote heart condition. Now the second best in this case is that she had a so-called VSD, a ventricular septal defect, which means a hole between the two main chambers of her heart.
And her hole was so large. Big, pretty big, and there was like no expectation that it was going to close by itself. So what that means is that the as she's breathing, because those chambers are not completely separated from each other, the blood gets mixed. So the oxygen-rich blood and the oxygen-depleted blood get mixed together, and what gets pumped out into her arteries again is just blood that does not have enough oxygen in it.
Actually, well, it's more like it's a thing. There is blood. There is oxygenated blood that is pushed into the chamber that is squishing blood to her lungs. So it's actually that there's too much blood going to her lungs. Or there was, which meant that eventually just like fluid was accumulating in there, and she just had to breathe more.
Yeah, so, like all in all, like the end result of all of this is that she has been breathing very rapidly for the entire time she's been alive. It's like she's always been out of breath, like constantly. Imagine you ran 200 yards, right? And then you stop, and then you have that period of time where you have to like catch your breath, and you're like breathing really fast. Imagine always being in that state, and that's just your life.
It takes a lot of energy to do that. So eventually,
it takes a lot of energy to do that, and they also said that like as she grows older, the symptoms are going to become more and more pronounced, and typically. Like, they estimated pretty early on that she was going to need surgery. And typically, you'd have to wait a bit because you want the child to grow a bit strong so that she'll have a better chance of surviving the operation. So typically, like rule of thumb, obviously it's going to change from person to person, but rule of thumb, they want the baby to be about like 4 months old or so.
I think it's not just about surviving the surgery, it's also for everything to be big enough for them to know that they're only going to have to go in once.
That makes sense.
So I think because like the smaller the heart is, the harder it is to also make sure that you're doing it complication free, because they told us ahead of the surgery, right, that the two most common complications are that you either... I think stitch too close to the exit, so to speak, of the chamber, and then you have to open it up again, or you stitch too close to the on the other end to the
tube.
Not the tube. It's like I forgot what it was called, but it was basically like the thing that pulses, that actually like steers the amount of just gives the impulse giver, the rhythm giver of the heart, so to speak, and at that point it beats slower, which they would actually realize during surgery and still have to fix. But basically that's so much more likely the smaller the heart is, because it's so much easier to hit the wrong thing there, right?
Yeah.
But as I said, it's still one of the best things to have as far as congenital heart defects go, because it's very common, so the surgeons are used to the surgery. Like it has really good outcomes.
When we say very common, it's still like what was the number we heard? There's like 1 out of 300 babies are born with some sort of heart condition, and out of those, it's like 1 out of 3 that's actually going to need surgery. So it's approximately 1 in 1,000 babies.
When I said very common, I meant among the different congenital heart defects, it's the most common, right? And that means that the surgery is also a very common one.
Super routine. They've done it a million times.
Yeah, it's like for us, it was one of the worst days of our lives, and for the surgeons, it was Thursday.
Hey.
And
I know it's the Bison quote from Street Fighter. I used that Bison quote when I talked about this with someone else.
I know the original is Tuesday, but she had her surgery on a Thursday, so that's what I went with. But what was I going to say? It's also a condition that if they fix it, you're very likely never to need any follow-up again and just lead a normal life afterwards.
Yeah, there are some heart conditions where like this is, even though they fix it, like this is gonna need constant monitoring for like many years. But that's not the case for us. So what they do is they crack open that rib cage.
No, not the rib cage.
Really?
They go through the breastbone.
Oh yeah, well yeah, but okay. They separate the rib cage.
It's part of the rib cage, I guess. But the point is, they don't go through the ribs.
No, they don't go through the ribs. Yes.
So it's right in the center.
Right in the center. But then they open up the rib cage and they go in there and they open up the heart and they stick a patch of medical grade Gore-Tex.
Yes. He's got a raincoat heart now.
Yeah, that's how you patch that up. And then like just actual like tissue is going to grow like over it. And then it's going to be fine by itself after a while.
Yay.
So that happened. We came home like 2 days ago. We had to travel across country to the other side of Sweden because that's where they have the specialist teams who work on heart surgery for babies. And fortunately, like for all of you Yankees out there listening to this, we live in Sweden, which means
we had to pay $2 for breakfast.
We had to pay $2 for 2 weeks worth of breakfasts in the hospital.
$2 per day, please.
Yeah, $2 per day. But
and they're gonna pay us back a train ticket.
Yeah, exactly. Staying at the hospital hotel, all of these medical procedures. Round trip ticket across the entire fucking country cost us $0, €0, 0 Swedish crowns. And not only that, but thanks to like just, hey, the Swedish welfare systems, because we're socialist, also means that we have, for these procedures, we have unlimited sick days that are like government funded. The government just goes in and pays for that. So they, listen to this, Americans, okay? They are paying us to take our child to a hospital to get her heart condition fixed, okay? They are paying us to do that. And so that's a tangent. Hey, Americans, stop believing your lying, thieving politicians when they tell you that it has to be the way that it is in the US and it wouldn't work to have it any other way, because they are lying to you, man. They are fucking lying to you.
I mean, sort of related, but just as a fun aside of that, right? It's not just for Swedish citizens, actually, as it turns out.
No.
But what do you people know about the country of Iceland? Do you know how many people live in Iceland?
Not that many people live in Iceland.
Is it like 100,000?
I think I'll have to look it up how many people live in Iceland. I think, but it's not that many, and like 90% of the population of Iceland live in the capital city of Reykjavik. Yeah, they have. We met an Icelandic couple who was in the hospital with us, and they had been flown in from Iceland because all of the Nordic countries, Iceland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, they have like such a tight like just camaraderie and cooperation, and they had that like even before the EU.
Yeah.
So we have all of these just joint agreements on helping each other out with all kinds of stuff.
So Iceland is so small that some things are very unusual there. For example, there's one baby a year on average born who needs heart surgery.
Yes,
and
they
Iceland
get one
just
heart baby per year.
doesn't keep a children's cardiological surgery
Okay, we
team
were a bit
going.
off.
We were off?
370,000 people.
Okay.
More than I thought.
More than I thought, but still not a whole lot. It would be Iceland would be Sweden's third largest city.
Something like that, yeah.
So yeah, there's one baby a year born that needs heart surgery.
And it
there,
doesn't make sense for them to be able to like be able to do those surgeries by themselves. So they had been flown in from Iceland to Sweden to have this done.
Doesn't that make you feel special, do you think? Where it's like, well, great, this happens to...
Yeah, I know, right?
To one baby a year, and you got lucky with your child around lucky. Wow.
Yeah. This year, you're the ones who are going to have a baby that's going to grow up to have a cool scar that all of the other kids in school are going to be jealous of.
Kind of like the Hunger Games. And it's not even that...
Huh?
You know, it's like there's so many people living in your district, but you're the one person chosen this year for this shit.
Okay. So we're being sent to the Hunger Games.
Well, not to the Hunger. I just meant the selection process in the Hunger. I didn't mean the rest of it. There's no battling it out between the heart patients.
Was it just like drawing lottery, whatever, or did they just pick? How did you get picked from your village?
I think now it's been many years since...
Tell me, Mrs. nowadays. Mrs. reads all of the young adult novels.
Number one, I don't.
But she does?
No, there's so many I don't read. And number two, it's been many years since I read The Hunger Games, which I will go to my grave defending as being actually good books.
I will always be of the opinion that she just stole the entire idea from the Korean movie Battle Royale.
I don't care. They're still good. It's different enough, right? And they're still good books. Much better than the movies.
Okay. I thought you... Okay, so you meant that...
The Hunger Games
The Hunger
movies.
Games books are better than the Hunger Games movies.
Yes.
I thought you just said that they're better than the Battle Royale movie.
No.
And I will go...
They're so different that there's no need in comparing. They have like the same premise, but they're going entirely different places with it, right? So... I may be wrong, but I think I recall that it's basically everyone's name, you know, from that age is like entered once, and like the older you get, the more your name gets into it, and also you can add your name more times to increase your chances of being picked. And this is something that people in like some of the districts do, because not all of them are like
against
equal.
It? Oh,
yeah, because some of them have like really rich people living there, right? And for them it's a prestige thing, so they train their entire lives to take part in it. And they enter it because they want to be there. Now, obviously, Katniss Everdeen is from the poor mining district, and nobody ever enters their name more than the default amount. So there it's just you get picked. But I do think that depending on your age or something, you're more likely to get picked. Like at 10 your name is in there once, at 11 twice or something. I might be wrong though. But that's sort of how it works. But that was like a huge tangent off that. But sort of going back to Iceland, because I just think this is like a fun tidbit. I read somewhere that they don't have a what are they called, a pathologist, like a forensic pathologist. Like if there's a crime that needs like an autopsy, I think they ship the body to Oslo, and Norway does it for them.
Did you learn that from watching Icelandic crime dramas?
I did, which is why I'm not 100% sure if it's true or not, but I was like, all right, it makes sense to me, right? I mean, how many people do you think get murdered in Iceland?
just so everyone, I don't know, what else would you do up there? It's cold and dark.
You fuck your cousin.
You fuck your cousin and you kill people. That's your entertainment. And you eat rotten shark that smells like piss.
Well, according to all the crime dramas, obviously there's a lot of killing going on there, but honestly, I think there isn't a whole lot of that.
Just so everyone knows, Anna is a sucker for Nordic crime dramas.
I am.
She used to use it as a method of learning Swedish, which is, I wonder if that's affected your vocabulary.
It does. I knew what stabbing someone to death is in Swedish before I could tell you about the weather. No, the reason why I like using crime drama for learning, and I think I can recommend that actually, is because crime shows are so predictable. So it's you don't need to focus any attention on trying to figure out the plot, right? You can see what's happening. Someone murdered someone, and then the police is investigating. So and
he's an alcoholic, and he has a troubled relationship with his family.
Exactly. It's like yeah, the one cop is an alcoholic, has a troubled relationship with his family. He is divorced, has one or two kids that he or she. Sorry, there's a lot of female detectives like that too. And actually nowadays, it's usually the woman.
See, this is
they've gone over.
Yeah.
So isn't taking care well enough of their child. There's also usually one parent of the detective involved that ends up doing a lot of the childcare and is very disappointed in their offspring for not spending enough time with grandchild. They're
See, this is another reason why I think that you would enjoy playing Disco Elysium, because Disco Elysium was made by a dev team from Estonia, and they are absolutely following that thing of that, like the main character is Nordic crime drama cop guy.
But that's why it's so perfect for learning a language, because repetition is how you learn. So seeing or hearing the same thing over and over and over again is actually helpful.
All right.
Yes. So that's how I ended up with the potentially flawed knowledge of what Iceland does with their corpses. That end up being corpses in unnatural ways.
So back to circling all the way back to us and the baby heart surgery. Yes. Cost us nothing. Completely free of charge.
Well, it cost a lot of energy, nerves, and...
Yeah, the emotional costs have been a bit high. So that's also played into things, because like even before these past 2 weeks, like obviously we've been dealing with this.
Constantly checkups, all of that, monitoring.
We had to install a feeding tube along the way, because heart babies, as the symptoms get worse, they get so tired that they don't have the energy to eat. So they stop eating. And then you have to put in a feeding tube through their nose just to make sure that they just get fed, so that they keep on growing and get strong enough to be able to handle the operation. Which means, we have to wake up in the middle of the night and use our syringes full of milk and just feeding the baby that way. It's been a mood. It's
worse than waking up at night and just feeding your baby a bottle or a boob. That's the thing. It's like you have to do it very slowly, and you have to test if it's actually in the right place before you do it. You have to pace yourself. If you don't pace yourself, you're gonna have like a barf disaster on your hands.
Yeah, because if she drinks by herself, she can pace herself and drink in a pace that she can handle. But if you are the one just feeding her through a feeding tube,
and you go too fast,
yeah, then her stomach is just gonna get overfilled, and then she's gonna start barfing, which is also a mood. That is a mood in the middle of the night with the milk barfs everywhere. So yeah, energy for actually recording gaming content for the YouTube channel, it's
currently missing.
Yeah, like I want to get back to it. But so you know what? Let's get into that as well. if you're wondering why I have not covered anything from the Duviri Paradox as it launched, I have not been home, people. I have been on the other side of the country, being assistance for my little baby who has been getting open heart surgery. So I'm gonna try to find the energy for it and the time for it to jump in and start doing the Duviri stuff, because I want to. I want to do Warframe stuff, and I want to check that out. And, you know, maybe it's just open world. Maybe it's just another open world. We'll see. I haven't dug into it yet. I know that it has like roguelike elements, and I'm going to have to check out like what's the longevity here? How much content can I make about it? I don't know yet.
No, our video gaming these past days has been restricted to Fallout Shelter.
Fallout Shelter, Marvel Snap, games that you can play with one hand, people, because the other hand is carrying a baby. So we've been playing games that you can play with one hand. But you know what? Though, Marvel Snap, maybe, like, I've made a couple of videos for Marvel Snap, and they actually have been doing well, so I should be making more. It took a while for them to pop off, but they've started popping off.
It's good.
They've started popping off and actually amassing views. So my latest Marvel Snap video has gotten like 1,600 views. That's not too bad, even though that was a month ago.
Oh my, yeah. But there was just a new season start, right?
Yeah, but it's like I'm gonna have to expand a bit and like think of what sort of content I can make. I've been making videos about how to apply poker strategy to Marvel Snap, which is very successful. Like, I have been playing Marvel Snap for like, I think, is it 4 months now? And like, I've hit the infinite rank on every single season I played. I'm already at infinite rank again for this season after just like 4 days or so. It's once you understand how to, like, obviously I've been playing collectible card games my entire life, right? I grew up playing Magic the Gathering. Did you play Magic the Gathering growing up?
No.
You never collected Magic cards?
I'm not a collectible card game kind of person.
You never went to those meetups with your other local nerds and play Magic the Gathering tournaments?
I'm gonna turn back to the childhood nerdism after you're done with your Magic the Gathering and Marvel Snap thing, because there's so much to say on that topic that I would just divert.
Right, so I've been, playing collectible card games my entire life. Started with Magic the Gathering, then Hearthstone. You've played Hearthstone too.
Yeah, but I mostly play Battlegrounds.
Nowadays, but before that, you played Hearthstone.
A little bit.
And
but never a whole lot.
So I'm gonna say, and I'm probably gonna make some people salty, right? If they are Marvel Snap players who are listening to this, I don't know. It's a new card game, right? Mm-hmm. So you're gonna have your veterans like me who grew up with collectible card games and who understand collectible card game philosophy, and in my case as well, that I was an avid poker player once, and poker strategy is like super applicable to Marvel Snap. So I have two backgrounds that are both sort of beneficial for understanding how you're supposed to play the game correctly. But there are people who are playing Marvel Snap for the first time. They've never played a collectible card game before, so this is their first experience with that. And they found it probably because they were like Marvel fans. And it's a good game. So they got hooked. And I'm gonna just go ahead and say that Marvel Snap has a lot of really bad players. And if I go back to like the beginning of Hearthstone, looking at like Kriparian's first couple of Hearthstone videos when he transitioned from Diablo 3 to Hearthstone instead, and you look at like the first couple of videos he put out where he showcased like him playing, so many misplays. Like, he played so fucking badly. All of them did. All of the big sort of YouTube Hearthstone players, they played like shit in the beginning because you do if you're not at that level, and no one is at that level in the beginning when the card game is brand new.
I was gonna say that's like saying, and then that person transitioned from football to ice hockey and they fell on their face a whole lot because they've never skated before.
I mean, there have been some transitions, some successful and not. Was it Michael Jordan who switched from basketball to golf?
Okay, but that doesn't require an entire base skill of being able to ice skate.
No.
That's what I meant. It's like, it's an entirely different thing. It's not just a game with a ball. It's also that for one of them, you use your feet, and for the other, you're using skates. That's kind of my point, right? It's like you have to learn that first.
Certain transitions work. It's like when you see amateur wrestlers transition into MMA, for example, and they typically do pretty well.
Well, my point isn't at all that you can't transition. My point is that it's ludicrous to expect to just do something and immediately be good at it if you're lacking, if you've never done something of that sort before.
Yeah. No, and that's fine, and that's fair, and that's expected. But that's what, people who are struggling in Marvel Snap and are struggling to climb the ladder up to infinite, it is a skill issue. And I know that that's a meme now, right? Nowadays, we just skill issue. Skill issue is the new get good. That's what you say now, because back in the days it was Dark Souls, and then when someone was like, how do I progress in Dark Souls, and people were just like, I get good.
But the thing with get good and skill issue is there's nothing inherently wrong with saying something is a skill issue. You just have to practice, right? That's how you get skill. I mean, damn well I'm not a fan of the whole get good thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, you can always help people by pointing out what they may be doing right or wrong, or what to focus on in order to be able to improve. Because if you're just getting smacked in the face every time, what are you gonna learn, right? Yeah. You're learning boxing by going into the ring with a pro boxer, and you just get punched in the face the entire time. And people are like, you just gotta go back and get punched in the face more. You're never gonna learn like that.
Actually,
I know, but you're not gonna learn boxing technique like that.
As someone who has trained Thai boxing, I am gonna say that getting into the ring with someone who is way better than you are, that is when you're gonna see the biggest leaps in your own improvement.
But you still have to train and learn from a teacher movements, and they have to tell you what you're doing wrong. What I'm saying is, you do nothing, you step into the ring, you get punched in the face, and people just tell you to keep going back into the ring and get punched in the face without doing any sort of training, or anyone telling you, have you thought about using your legs?
You weren't never all that into MMA. They had a reality show called The Ultimate Fighter, which is sort of how the UFC got big, because that reality show got big. And they had the famous championship level fighters who were acting as coaches. And then they brought in a group of new green prospects, and then they divided up into two teams, and then two teams fought against each other. That was the concept of the show. And they had one, and usually it culminated with a big fight pay-per-view where the coaches fought each other. So they had one where it was Rashad Evans versus Quinton Rampage Jackson. Rashad Evans was the current light heavyweight champion, I think, and Rampage was a former light heavyweight champion who was challenging for the belt. And Rampage was such a bad coach. He was such a shit coach. He was exactly that thing of just offering the most terrible non-advice ever. Good fight. Just because you're a good fighter does not mean you're a good coach.
Oh, I mean, it's the same. It's the same in academic research, really. Just because you're a good researcher doesn't mean you're a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. I had my share of law professors who were very well-known, famous law professors or whatever, but their lectures were just nightmare to get through.
How did we get here from collectible card games?
Skill issue.
skill issue.
Yeah.
Let's get back to skill issue.
Well,
then.
I was just gonna say there was this one fight because like the coaches acted as cornermen in the fights, so they're just standing outside of the cage and like giving advice to their fighters as the fight is going on. And Rampage's guy has been wrestled to the ground, and Rashad Evans' guy is like just on top and like just beating on him, and Rampage is just sitting there at the corner, and he's just like, "Get up, get up, get up." Why aren't you getting up? Get up.
Oh my god.
Just get up. It's like not telling him how to get up. Not giving him advice for like how to improve his position or things he can take advantage of. Just telling him to get up. And then the guy loses and Rampage was like, I don't know what to tell you. You didn't follow any of my advice. I told him to get up. He didn't get up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, but back to Marvel Snap. What I was going to say is that it is a new card game. So it's new players. They are like, I run into so many bad players, and I run into players just making like very rudimentary misplays. Most often it's just not properly identifying the strength of your opponent and sticking around when they should be retreating. But I've done some videos about that already. I have to try to branch out and cover other aspects of poker philosophy and how you can apply it to Marvel Snap. Figured maybe I'll do my next video on something more esoteric, about the concept of tilt. Do you know what tilt is?
I do. But let's pretend I don't and explain it to me.
Well, I'm explaining it to our listeners.
I know. For the sake of our listeners, let's pretend I don't.
Right. Anyway, getting tilted or experiencing tilt is when you experience like a string of losses and it gets to you. And it gets to your psyche and you start playing badly because of it. And you start losing more. And there are like entire poker books written about tilt and identifying when you're on tilt and like the telltale signs of it. And that's usually like, oh, you should take a break. You should not be playing right now because you are actively playing badly and you can't even see it yourself because you're tilting. Might be interesting to make a video about that because that could be a thing in Marvel Snap as well.
I mean, it's a very human concept, right? I see it all the time at work also. When people are getting upset and making themselves more upset, you're not going to get like a good solution to the problem because being upset is the main focus.
Yeah. I've seen that in like the legal field as well, where you had like meetings and things that are just going south and where you just have to just like force a break.
Yeah.
And you're, hey, everyone shut the fuck up. We all have to exit the room. Just fucking take 10 minutes and come back in again. Because currently is like, we are not going to get anything done right now. Everyone needs to chill and take a fucking breath.
Yep, that's a very human thing. But yeah, you could make a video about that. Now, I did say I was going to come back to something when you were asking me about, you know, my nerd wisdom, right? And if I ever did the Magic the Gathering thing. It's I never knew about collectible card games at that age, and you have to remember for our viewers that Nick and I were teenagers when the internet was around.
It was around, kinda.
But Magic the Gathering wasn't on the internet, right? It was like real cards at the time.
Yeah, it is on the internet now, but it wasn't
back then.
Well, yeah,
it wasn't back then. So you had to have someone introduce you to it, right? So I just didn't know anyone who
you
did.
had to have other people who played it, because otherwise, even if you collected cards yourselves, you wouldn't have anyone to play with.
Exactly. So you only knew the things that someone introduced you to, and Magic the Gathering wasn't in my sphere. But out of the things, you know, that were and that I was introduced to and aware of, I was a pretty big nerd, right?
Did you do tabletop gaming?
Well,
you know, like Warhammer and stuff?
No. I was aware of Warhammer because there was a guy in my Latin class who kept painting figurines.
Nice.
But the way he explained it to us at the time was that it was just about painting little figures of orcs. So I didn't know there was an actual game involved with it. And I was like, I'm not really into painting figurines because I'm really bad at art. So no Warhammer for me either. But I was aware sort of that a thing called Warhammer existed. No, but I was nerdy in various other ways.
Did you do Dungeons and Dragons?
Let me just...
all right,
again, no tabletop games in my circle either. So no, none of that. I think if I'd known about Dungeons and Dragons, I probably would have known about Warhammer too. Because you're usually aware of things adjacent to your thing, right?
Yeah.
No, but I just want to point out that nowadays, being nerdy about things, I think, is fine with kids, from what I hear from my coworkers who have teenage kids as well. But back when we were teenagers, you were relentlessly bullied for being a nerd. And here are the things that I was into, that I was super bullied about, which is ridiculous. I liked Harry Potter. I liked video games. I liked Pokemon. I drew Pokemon on my school stuff. And I had, other kids coming and making fun of me for liking Pokemon and drawing Pikachu. Imagine that nowadays. Yeah. Every kid does these.
What's your favorite Kanto Pokemon?
I mean, obviously Pikachu is very, very cute.
Yeah.
But Squirtle is so adorable.
Yeah, but Squirtle is not the most adorable starter. That's Bulbasaur.
Yeah, that is true. I like all the starters actually. So
how about Snorlax?
I was never that. Oh. I don't know why people like Snorlax so much.
I like Snorlax. I really like Slowpoke.
Yeah, I do like Slowpoke. There's yeah. And I drew, but that was mostly for my sister because she really liked what are they called, Jigglypuff and Clefairy.
Well, yeah.
So I drew those a lot for my baby sister. Not because I liked them so much, but because she did, right? And obviously Eevee is very, very cute as well. So those, but I was just doodling them on my school stuff, and I had, other kids like, it's like, oh, this is so stupid, so challenging. And I was like playing video games.
People don't get that because nowadays nerdy is the new normal, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is a nerd. Everyone does nerd stuff. Critical Role gets like 100 million views for everything they put out. Everyone plays Pokemon. Everyone has a video game console at home.
It's just normal kid stuff, but not in 1999.
No, back when we grew up, that was basement stuff. That was basement dweller neckbeard stuff. And if you were into nerd culture, the cool kids would give you hell.
And it's like, I don't understand because I did all the other normal kid stuff as well. I played sports. I learned musical instruments, and we had recitals and all of that. It's just, even among those, if you're the nerd that reads Harry Potter and plays video games and all of that, it's like, ugh. See? And the thing is, it was even worse for me because not only did I play video games, but I was a girl who played video games. So also the boy nerds,
yeah,
they also shat on me.
Which is like,
that's still a thing, though.
That's still a thing, and it's so frustrating because, like, if we're going to talking about things like incel culture or whatever, whereas like you have all of these people who are like, oh, I can never get a girlfriend, I am doomed to be forever alone, and then when a girl shows up who actually shares their interests, they ridicule them and try to push them away.
You're invading my space. This is only for people with penises.
Yeah, only for real gamers. Real gamers.
Yeah, so it's, yeah.
You're not a real gamer.
Mm-hmm.
But,
you're only doing it for the attention. It's like,
ooh, that one, yeah.
Have you looked in the mirror? Why would I want your attention? You haven't showered in 10 days.
See, here's the thing, though, right? Because back then, I get it, we all had it tough. nowadays, now that everyone is a nerd, I'm gonna say still it's more of a guy thing than a girl thing. There are more guy nerds than there are girl nerds still. It's getting better, but obviously still there's
I mean, what's your definition of a nerd? Is a nerd just someone who plays video games?
Kinda. Like, you have to remember that I went to law school, which is the normiest of the normies. Like, I was absolutely, like, still in a minority there. Of, like, there's so many people in law school who are like, oh, I've never played a video game in my life.
I can't imagine.
No, I can't imagine it either. It is, like, a foreign concept to me, but there are absolutely people out there who are that normie, who are they're like, video games? What are you talking about? And like, what do you do? And like, when you aren't working, what do you do when you're at home? It's like, oh, I watch TV. Okay. What else do you do? Oh, I go to the gym. Okay.
I do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but
well, not anymore.
What else do you do? Oh, I watch TV. Okay, but what else do you do? Oh, I go out for walks. What do you do otherwise? Oh, I watch TV. That's it, right? That's it. That's too normie for video games and just nerd culture. They don't have any social media account besides their Facebook.
Okay, but my point is, I think nerd isn't just video games, right? It's like you read a lot of science fiction, fantasy novels, stuff like that. That to me is also part of nerd culture. There's like various things. It's tabletop games. It's even board games. There's plenty of people who I would classify as super nerdy. It's just they're playing their games not on a computer, but on a table with a bunch of friends, like Vincent, my coworker.
Well, like board games, are we talking like Monopoly or what? Because that's normie. That's not nerd.
No, I mean he has an entire room filled to the ceiling with board games.
Okay, because like it's a difference between just playing Monopoly or like Settlers of Catan, right? It's there's levels to this shit.
No, I mean maybe he has Monopoly too, right? He probably does. Who doesn't? But we don't, okay. We don't have a lot of board games in general. But, you know, to me, that's like super nerd culture as well. Not everything about it has to be on a computer, right?
Yeah.
Video games is part of nerd culture, but it's not exclusive. So I think women tend to stick to the places where we can feel comfortable, which is number one. I think there's a lot of, like I said, books, reading. Is if you look at it not just from a perspective about
no one's gonna get on a mic and tell you to hand the mic back to your boyfriend, who's clearly the one who's actually using the controller while you're reading your Harry Potter book.
I'm gonna say that a lot of men also read Harry Potter, but on average, from what I can see, sort of the average target audience for a lot of books nowadays is women. So that's one thing.
It.
And manga is, I mean, it has its own categories for who the target audience is, right?
Yes.
But watching manga and anime, I think, like things where other people don't necessarily observe you doing it.
Well, I was gonna get to something on just that subject, because I chatted a bit with Zeno Jellian about this, because he's like a huge anime nerd, and you know, so am I. He's a bigger anime nerd than I am, though. But we talked about that, how that's another frontier, right? Video games, tabletop games, Dungeons and Dragons, stuff like that, has already, you know, progressed pretty far into mainstream culture. Anime and manga were lagging a bit behind. That was still in the realm of neckbeardism, I'm gonna say, for longer than video gaming, right? Video gaming is super mainstream nowadays. I'm gonna say that with anime, you could argue that some headway was done with like just Miyazaki movies, Spirited Away or whatever. We're actually got some mainstream recognition, but the big one was Netflix. The big one was Netflix starting to pump out some anime stuff that got like real big and real mainstream. You had your Death Notes, you had your Castlevanias and other sort of like Western made animes. You had Full Metal Alchemist getting new stuff, Neon Genesis Evangelion getting new releases on Netflix. And now, thanks to Netflix, anime is starting to get into the mainstream, and now we're getting something that we haven't had before, which is like the normie anime fan. We now have the normie gamer, right? The normie gamer, they play the Fortnite, they play the Call of Duty, they play the Valorant, they play the normie
NBA
games.
This year's NBA release.
Absolutely, the EA fucking NBA games. Or FIFA, definitely. Those are the normie gamers. You've had those for a while. Now we're getting the normie anime fans who have only ever watched Netflix anime, and they've never watched any anime that's not on Netflix.
You know what?
And the people who watch the rest of the anime stuff, they're the nerds again. They're the outcasts again.
Well, that's fine. My point wasn't entirely finished, though, so I'm just saying there's a lot of, reading books, watching movies, anime, manga, that. But women do play video games. It's just we do two things. Number one, we, just like everyone else, play single-player games where it's like it doesn't matter what gender you are when you play them because no one is observing you doing it, right? So you can do it in peace. And number two, we just don't use a mic and identify ourselves as women. And so it's always assumed male unless proven otherwise.
Yeah.
On things. And there's like plenty of videos of women like playing really well on all those, I don't know what do you call them, Call of Duty thingamajiggers where people shoot each other. Look, I'm not a PvP kind of person, so I honestly don't know what all of those games are called. You know, the ones where...
I remember when you started playing...
Counter-Strike and
I remember when you started playing Hearthstone, that was a hurdle for you to overcome, that like you didn't actually want to beat your opponent because that makes them feel bad.
I know, I don't enjoy winning against another person because then they're sad about losing.
But I'm like, you're not sad when you lose.
No, that's fine. I can take it. I can take an L. But what if they can't? Anyway, so there's just, these videos of women playing really bad, and then they say something on the microphone, and all of a sudden it's just full of like, go to the kitchen, make me a sandwich, bitch, and whatever. And they're just like, why did I say something? So we are there. We play these games, not me.
Hey, there's another aspect of that, and that is like, if you're black and you play on the internet, you don't tell people that you're black because, hey, guess what? Guess what the rest of your video game open mic night experience is going to be like?
Well, I'm gonna say that if you are, and if you do, then PewDiePie is gonna have to explain himself again.
Why would... You're trying to get us cancelled on our very first episode. I like it.
Sorry.
I like it. No, you got Moxie. Yeah, no. So I think a lot of people who are in a minority, and I know that women are 50% of the population, but in nerd culture we're viewed as a minority, so I'm just including myself in there for a bit. But I'm gonna say minorities, be it race, gender, sexuality, or whatever. A lot of you guys out there will know that if you just want to have a good time, keeping who you are a secret, quote unquote, is how you go about your way. And that means that all of the straight, white, cis men out there just think they own the space when really they're sharing it with everyone else. We're just not telling them. Maybe one day you can.
I don't want to anymore. Like, I used to just be like, I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I have a right to be here and whatnot. And it's like, I just don't have the energy for that shit anymore.
Is it also a case of like, even if, because I'm imagining that like, yeah, you have men who treat you like shit because you're a woman. But then there's also men who's gonna creep on you, right?
That's just as exhausting. It's not just about creeping. It's the people who will shower you with gifts and attention and then be upset when you can't like equally distribute your attention back. And they're not getting what it is that they want from you. It's like, I gave you all of this stuff. And I'm like, that was very nice. I didn't ask you for it. And it's like, especially when I was playing, right? I was a teenager, not super mature emotionally or otherwise. And it's like, you don't know how to deal with that. That's a lot. And you just feel bad because, yeah, they did give you all that stuff. Do you owe them something in return? I guess. But that just makes you feel, or at least it made me feel kind of resentful. And then there's these other people that see you getting all of that attention and all of that, and they hate you for it. And they think, oh, you're not actually good at it. You're just getting all of the shit for free. You have it so easy. And you're like, I guess I do. Aww. I guess you have a point, right? So you start like questioning yourself and all of that.
So you're getting gaslighted?
Yeah. And then in hindsight, I'm like, man, shit's fucked up.
So as we were saying, our child had heart surgery.
Yes. That's where this started.
Yeah, we went on some tangents, and I don't know how we ended up with the experience of women in video games. But
well, I hope her experience is going to be different.
It's, if you look at like just, hey, women are taking over everywhere, right? They're doing better in school. They're getting all of the high-profile jobs. There's still, you know, some areas of society where the men in power cling to that power and whatnot. But, you know, if you look at like who actually sort of graduates from universities and stuff, it's like way more women than men. So like the change is happening. It's a gradual thing, but it's happening.
It'll take time because it's still like more female graduates, more male professors, more female employees, more male leadership people, right? It's like, we'll get there. It's gonna take time.
Hey, we haven't told people before that, like, yeah, we got a daughter. We've been saying she throughout this video, but we never announced that before.
Yeah,
it's a daughter, people.
We have a daughter.
It's a girl. Gender reveal. I'm gonna have to make this a pink video.
Oh my god, why does everyone think our kid is a boy, by the way? Is it because of the lack of pink?
I think so, because we just got some comfy jammies. And people are like, oh, what a cute boy. And it's like, is it just because we haven't put like a pink bow tie on her head? Is that why?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's not like we're dressing her like in a suit and tie or anything that is traditionally associated. It's just pajamas.
I don't know.
She's just not decked out in pink all the time.
We should. There is such a thing as baby makeup. That is a product that exists.
Nope.
It's for them child beauty pageants that they're into in the Americans.
Our baby's very cute and everyone thinks so. They just happen to think she's a boy.
We're gonna have to put some makeup on that baby.
Nope.
We gotta keep up appearances.
Dude, I don't wear makeup.
Well, no, but that's because you have that sort of like skin thing, right?
Yeah.
You would otherwise, right?
I used to.
See?
But I don't have to.
Well, no, because you're hitched. You can just let yourself go.
Oh my god. I thought you were going to say because you're so beautiful even without it. But okay. No, that's true. I'm married.
Exactly. You don't have to give a shit about anything. You just walk around in pajamas and flannel shirts without any makeup on. Just don't think about me at all.
But flannel shirts and pajamas provide much better access than
nice
complicated corsages or something.
Turn it around.
Huh?
Turned it around and saved it with gusto.
Why did I have to save it when you were the one that shat the bed in the first place?
I'm not the one who shits the bed. That's our daughter.
That's the kid, yes.
Yes. But back all the way back,
well, and
the way
occasionally
back.
the cats actually.
It happens.
One of them.
But rolling it all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
We got the surgery done for our daughter. And
it sucked.
It sucked immediately. Like an hour after the surgery was done. Her breathing had like stabilized down to normal levels.
Well, she was still on the lung machine.
She was still hooked up to a
but...
lung machine, yes. But
let's say 8 hours after the surgery when she was breathing by herself, yeah.
Yeah. And she's just taking normal deep breaths, which we had never seen her done before. That's
so
fantastic.
We were freaked out actually by how little she was breathing.
Yeah. Modern healthcare is kind of crazy, but we're very happy about that. So now, presumably, since everything went well, we're supposed to now have like a normal baby who doesn't need to have a bunch of medications and a bunch of like constant monitoring, and we can just have the normal baby experience, which we have not had. We have not had the normal baby experience for the past 3 months. We've had something very different.
We're not quite there yet.
And that's because we talked about the feeding tube.
She's had it for a couple of weeks, and now she's just so used to magically not feeling hungry anymore that she doesn't want to eat.
Yeah, that's a problem. If you have a feeding tube with your kid, they get used to getting fed through a feeding tube, and they sort of forget how to just drink the milk by themselves. And then you have to wean them off the feeding tube, and they don't like it. And you kind of have to starve them a little bit just so that they will start drinking milk by themselves. And that's going to be a process, and that's going to suck. But other than that, she is doing much better than she was before.
Everyone's super happy with the result of the surgery. They said they'd be super surprised if they ever saw us again. So
yeah, which is nice. We don't want to see them again.
Nope. I was like, thanks, you guys are great. Let's not meet again.
Yeah. And so once her feeding is gonna be like back to normal, then things are gonna be nicer for us. Hopefully, we'll be able to sort of like balance life a bit better. But I figured we should, like, this first episode of the podcast, just to let people know, sort of like, because we were expecting the channel to go on hiatus when she was born. We were expecting that. We didn't really expect that we were gonna be like in this sort of situation, which has been like 2 to 3 hours of sleep per night, constant doctor's visits, constant like monitoring, having to travel to the other side of the country for surgeries. Like it's not really what we had envisioned.
No.
It's been tough.
It has been tough, and I don't know, this might be a bit weird, but ahead of the surgery, I was really trying to read up on, like, what does any of this entail? Like, trying to find out other experiences of people online, and it was really hard for me to find anything about that, even on Reddit. So, anyone in a similar situation that wants to hear is very welcome to contact us and just ask. Obviously, how certain administrative things are done insurance-wise is going to be different from country to country, but I'm going to say, like, just surgery recovery, what does that do with your kid? How do you deal with it? All of that stuff is going to be very similar wherever you are. So,
yeah, we saw that with other people in that ward who were just going through the same thing we were. Either like they were a day ahead of us or a day behind us, but it's kind of the same for everyone.
And they had all different heart conditions. Some had, like, I don't know, aortic stenosis, tetralogy of Fallot, or whatever it's
called. These
are
like, words.
Yeah, all of these different heart conditions. But at the end of the day, the surgeons do different things, but you get back a kid in the same sort of state almost, and it's going to be traumatic in some way or another for you, for the baby. Handing over your child to the surgeons and just having to watch them take your child away is going to be the same kind of difficult for everyone, I think. So.
And they're like, we'll call you in about 6 hours or so. Go out on town and just sit at a cafe or something and just try to not think about this for the next 6 hours until we call you. That's a thing.
So anyone in a similar boat, in a similar situation that wants to know something, feel free, reach out to us. We can talk.
Yeah. Either the comment section or... I mean, we have a business email in the about section of the...
Isn't it just twostarplayers@gmail.com?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just email us, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think we have a Twitter too.
We do have a Twitter, but that's just, 2-star players.
Does Twitter have like a private...
You can DM people if you are like on their friend list.
Okay. Then maybe not Twitter. maybe email.
But do follow us on Twitter.
I guess you can do that.
There
I was
you go.
just like, as you can tell,
2-star
I'm practically...
players. Twitter.com/2star players. Follow us on Twitter. There you go. Yeah, get them plugs in.
Oh, accidental plug. I really just wanted to get... Yeah.
Twitch.tv/2star players.
Oh my God.
Follow us on Twitch.
Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this apropos of baby heart surgery.
You sort of like... This is on you.
I accidentally led into that. This is true.
This is on you.
But that's just
you know me. You know how I am.
That's just because I don't know how Twitter works. Anyway, the fuck Elon, right?
Yeah. Is that the end? Is that the end of the podcast? Is that what we're gonna end it on? Yeah. One more for good measure.
Fuck Elon.
There you go.